The year just started and I already feel like I've fallen behind. It's been pretty hard to shake off the holidays and get started on New Year's resolutions like losing weight and starting new projects. I'm constantly asking myself, where did the time go? So for the next few days, I'm going to get back on track and I'm going to show you guys the step-by-step method that works for me every single time. I pride myself on being a super productive person. In fact, I kind of took it way too far when I used to work in Hollywood. Trust me, I'm an expert at creatively finding all the ways to get more time where there was none so that I can work more. But no matter how good I get at managing my time, falling off the wagon happens to everyone. So I always try to recover as fast as possible and get back on that wagon. The first thing I always do is the simple 4-quadrant exercise. The 4-quadrant exercise is just a simple way to organize your to-do list. It's a way to prioritize certain tasks and delegate or stop doing tasks that basically are wasting all of your time. So get yourself a blank piece of paper and draw yourself a square and then divide it up into 4 quadrants. Label the first quadrant urgent. Label the second quadrant important. Label the third quadrant not urgent. And then label the last quadrant not important. The first quadrant is reserved for things that absolutely have to get done. So things like deadlines, crises, emergencies, that kind of thing. The only thing for me that's super urgent is filming, which also means doing makeup is pretty urgent, and also writing the script. The second quadrant is for things that are important but not urgent. So typically it's things like learning, relationship building, and rest. If you want to be successful, most of your time should be spent in quadrant 2. The things that are super important for me to do is exercise, practicing and learning music, and I always try to spend time with Vincent. The third quadrant are things you have to get done, but not immediately. So typically it falls into the category of busy work. So any emails, meetings, bills, basically anything that's considered grunt work that you can technically delegate to someone else. Third quadrant things are typically the things people use to pretend like they're actually getting a lot of stuff done, when in actuality they're just doing a lot of busy work, pretending, or procrastinating instead of doing actually important things. So for me, I tend to check emails a lot. Same with social media. I also include food here because food really isn't that urgent and not all that necessary either. I just like to eat a lot. And the fourth quadrant, not important, is basically anything that are time wasters and for just pure pleasure. You should pretty much get rid of altogether or limit completely. If you ever catch yourself doing it, you are wasting your time. So it's TV watching, movie watching, overindulging in food. I always write down video games because whenever I start, I can't stop. So as much as I love video games, I can't really allow myself to play it, otherwise I will waste a lot of time. And also YouTube, because even though YouTube is my job, I tend to watch a lot of unnecessary videos. Once I finish my 4-quadrant exercise, then I'll write out my daily schedule, at least what I think it's going to be. And I try to be as detailed as possible. I start with taking account how many hours in the day that I have. So for me, I typically wake up at 7 a.m. and then I exercise by 8 a.m. I try to be done with it by 9 so I can do makeup. By 10, I'll write and script out my videos. 11, I try to film. I'll have lunch at 12 and then I'll film some more between 1 to 4. I'll have dinner at 5 and then I'll practice music for the rest of the night, or I spend time with Vincent. By 9, I shower and go to bed. Now this is what I think I do. I don't actually get all this done, and next to each of these tasks, I will label each of them quadrant 1, 2, 3, or 4. If most of my tasks are in quadrant 3 and 4, time to rethink my schedule. And if most of my tasks are in quadrant 1, then most likely I'm going to burn myself out if I keep at this pace. The way I've laid this out is a really good balance between quadrant 1, 2, and 3, with nothing from quadrant 4. So now it's time for the most important part, time tracking. I'm going to go through my entire day just like normal, except I'm going to track every single action and figure out how much time I'm actually taking to do each task. It's really important to be honest with yourself. Don't lie and say things are taking less time than they actually are. That's not going to help anybody. It is 10 a.m. and I have gotten a lot done. I exercised, I showered, I did my makeup, I even worked on work early in the morning. So now I'm going to accompany Vincent on his music class. It is 11:16, Vincent went to music class, and I am going to sit here and edit a little bit and upload some footage.
Hello.
We are at Borneo Kalimantan.
Borneo Kalimantan. There are only 2 places to eat in the entire city that are good.
And reliable.
Good and reliable. This place and Cafe de Olla. Everything else is a travesty.
Normally, I don't go out to eat in the middle of the day because it wastes time and it's bad for my body. But things happen, and I just wanted to eat my feelings today. It happens to the best of us, and I choose not to feel guilty about it. These things aren't good or bad for right now, they just are. I realized I've been sleeping in way too much, which negatively impacts the rest of my day. And it also takes away the overall amount of waking hours I have every day. I spend way too long putting on makeup because I'm dilly-dallying, looking at my phone, social media. It should not take me 2 hours to get ready. I also forgot to take into consideration the amount of time it takes for me to cook, so I've been spending more time eating than I'd actually like. You know, I don't really understand people who can be on all day long. I am drained. Maybe it's my introvertedness, but oh my god. I feel guilty wanting to play video games. My gut is telling me that I am a workaholic and I need to chill. It's no big deal. Does anyone else have this problem, or is it just me? The point of doing all of this isn't to shame you or to make you feel guilty for not completing all your tasks. It's just to show you how you are actually spending all your time. We are going to watch a movie because we are tired and burnt out and we just need to relax.
Let's just cut to the chase. Jan has never seen Final Destination. Can you believe that? Can you believe she's never seen Final Destination?
I have never
Janet has truly lived under a rock. Have you had no childhood?
No. By the end of the day, it's time to reassess and create your ideal schedule. Basically, you take what you actually did during the day and make it look a little bit more like what you think you do. By doing this whole process, you make a much more realistic schedule for yourself. For me, it typically looks like cutting out a lot of unimportant and not urgent tasks and replacing them with quadrant 1 or quadrant 2 tasks. Here I have my multiple different schedules, and I'm going to reorganize my time accordingly. I want to start waking up at 5 a.m. to increase the amount of time I have. I don't like sleeping in so late that I can't get anything done. I am at my most productive in the morning, so from 6 to 7, I want to get started with work, so editing, script writing, that kind of thing. For the past few days, exercise takes me an hour and a half to get my full workout in, so I want to make sure to do that no matter what. So I think I'll start exercising at 7 all the way to 8:30. As much as I hate how long it takes me to put on makeup, do my hair, and get film ready, it is what it is. It takes me an hour and 30 minutes every day. So from 8:30 to 10, I have to get ready. Filming usually takes between 2 to 3 hours, so from 10 to 12, I'm going to start filming. Eating and cooking takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours, so I'll give myself 2 hours to eat. And then after lunch, I'll give myself another 2 hours to finish filming. From 4 to 5, I'll eat dinner. I don't always eat dinner. Sometimes I only eat once a day, so if I get really busy, I might skip this one. Then from 5 to 8:30, I'll practice music and hang out with Vincent. And then finally, I want to sleep well, so I want to make sure to get ready for bed by 8:30 to 9, perhaps 10 if I'm pushing how much I want to work. I found that after time tracking, this schedule is pretty ideal for me. I will probably keep adjusting it for the next few days until I get it really on lock, especially for different days where I have other obligations and stuff like that. If these tips have helped you out so far, kindly do me a favor and like this video. Something so easy really does help me out in the YouTube algorithm. It's amazing how things easily get out of hand when you're not really thinking or tracking your time. Always take Parkinsons Law into account. Parkinsons Law is a tendency to take the entire time allotted to complete a task. So for example, if you give yourself 2 hours to finish your homework when technically you don't really need 2 hours to finish your homework, let's be honest, somehow it still takes 2 hours. Whereas if you limited your time to, let's say, 30 minutes, you will probably get your homework done in 30 minutes. Magically. Sometimes it's good to give yourself less time to do something to force yourself not to procrastinate. If you have a tendency to procrastinate, I would suggest trying out the Pomodoro technique. It's basically when you give yourself 25 minutes of intense focus to work, and then you take a 3-minute break, and then another 25 minutes. You do this for about 4 rounds, and after the 4th round, you give yourself about 15 minutes or more as an extended break. This technique can really help you focus. I like to use pomofocus.io as my timer to help me focus more on my work. If you still don't feel like you have enough time to get everything done, you probably have to wake up earlier. It is 5. It's way too early. Why am I doing this? or sleep later to increase your working hours to about 18 to 20 hours. But here is a word of warning while you do this. As a former workaholic, I also have to make sure I have time for rest. I didn't really have a problem prioritizing learning in Quadrant 2 because I was obsessed with working. But I never considered self-care, rest, and relationships all that important. So if I wanted to achieve something, I would stop at nothing to get what I wanted. I would sleep less. I didn't have the luxury to exercise or spend time with friends or family. When I would, I thought I was being lazy. When I'd be hanging out with somebody, I would feel anxious or guilty, so the other person would feel like I wasn't enjoying my time with them. You can imagine how that could really hurt a lot of relationships in my life. I would skip meals or eat anything convenient, and usually that would be fast food or anything microwavable from the freezer. So I ended up gaining a lot of weight when I was working in animation. Unfortunately, that's a sacrifice everyone around me had to make in order to make it in a competitive field like Hollywood. Technically, everything I just described is just a normal working artist. So when I finally got everything I wanted, everything I worked for, I was so far from being happy. I'm sure a lot of overachievers could probably relate to this sentiment. I used to say, I'll sleep when I'm dead, like it was a badge of honor or something. And like most people in college, I would brag about how little I slept. Now that I'm slightly older and have experienced far more near-death experiences than I'm comfortable with, I understand exactly how little time I have in life. I would rather die knowing I made good memories with people I cared about and had a damn good time doing it than chasing after some shallow dream and acceptance from people who will never appreciate or remember me. All this just to say, creating this ideal schedule takes a lot of self-reflection, being kind to yourself, and self-understanding. I typically need to try out the new schedule, readjust, and fine-tune to my personal needs and happiness. After a few rounds of this, I'll eventually get to the perfect daily routine for me. The next thing you need to do is to develop habits that will help you keep to your schedule without even trying by watching this video.